So, in my opinion, do I think that hordes of trans Vikings invaded the shores of Scotland and the rest of the British Isles 1,000 years ago? Hey guys, Christopher Norse Rain. Today I have a news story for you guys, and it's from The Times, Britain's oldest newspaper. They report that Viking hordes may have been trans. According to Sasha Coward, a leading historian or a trans activist, depending on what source you subscribe to, he believes that transgender warriors were among the Vikings who ransacked Scotland more than 1,000 years ago. First off, I'm not really sure why he is only referring to Scotland. As you know, Vikings, they were all over the British Isles and Europe, but he is only referring to Scotland. Sasha Coward, he specializes in gender and sexuality. He said it would be a mistake to believe that the Viking society subscribed to traditional gender roles after recent discoveries suggested that some celebrated warriors were female. And of course, he is referring to the Viking warrior grave from Birka. This grave was excavated in 1878, and it was long believed to be like the perfect textbook example of a Viking warrior grave. It had a lot of weapons in it. It had a sword, it had a spear, it had arrowheads, shield, it had 2 horses, and it also had gaming pieces, probably from Nefertofel. So this would indicate that the person was not only gifted on the battlefield, but also very talented with strategy. However, in 2017, there was done a bone analysis of the remains, and they discovered that the remains belonged to not a man, but a woman. And of course, this caused quite a bit of controversy, and skeptics suggested that there had been a mix-up with the bone sample, so they had actually sampled the wrong remains. And it was also debated whether or not the woman was an actual warrior due to the lack of battle wounds on the remains. Another theory is that she had done an act of bravery. Perhaps she had protected her village during an attack and died in the process, and she was rewarded with a very honorable burial. At the end of the day, these are just theories. We don't really know. Hopefully, one day we will have some more information about this grave, but in the meantime, we can just speculate what actually happened. The trans-Viking theory, though, that isn't a new one. Neil Price, archaeologist and professor at Uppsala University in Sweden, he suggested this theory back in 2020 in his book Vikings, Children of Ash and Elm. So the theory is that the person in the grave was a biological woman, but she identified as a man, so a trans warrior. Here's the thing, though. We can't really gender people of the past. We just can't do that. It's not our right to do so. Sure, we can speculate and have theories about things, but we cannot assign genders. Coward continues, the stories you hear are of fierce, hot-blooded warrior men, of violence and pillage. This notion can make it hard for us to look at the 8th and 11th centuries in Scotland, without strong cisgender and heterosexual bias. It can be a challenge to see the roles of gender non-conforming people to pull apart the understanding of gender, sex, and identity as they really were for the people who we now call Vikings. At the very least, men and women in Viking society could break from traditional constructs of male and female roles, and it is possible that we are talking about people who would today identify as transgender or non-binary. Well, everything is possible, but you have to take into consideration that 1,000 years ago, you didn't have terms like transgender or non-binary, so these are obviously modern terms. I think what matters more is that you were strong and able to fight and not being an annoying asshole. If you fit that category, you would be okay to come aboard the ship. Coward also mentioned here that at the very least, men and women in the Viking society could break from traditional constructs of male and female. And, to be honest, the equality between man and woman was in the Viking Age very good. So compared to a lot of other cultures, the Vikings were definitely ahead of their time in regards to women's rights. It was actually later, as Christianity was introduced, that the equality between man and women started to decline. For instance, you have the witch hunt that happened in Europe and also in America from 1450 to 1750. About 50,000 women died because of that during that period. So, in my opinion, do I think that hordes of trans Vikings invaded the shores of Scotland and the rest of the British Isles 1,000 years ago? No, I don't really think so. To me, it doesn't matter today how you identify, but I think it's inherently wrong to project your modern ideology on history like this. You have to take into consideration that this was over 1,000 years ago. So terms like transgender or non-binary, at this point in time, they didn't exist. So no, Vikings wouldn't identify as such. They would identify as Vikings. They might have felt slightly different than their peers. I don't know. That's just speculation. But the image of a horde of transgender Vikings flooding the shores of Scotland, I think that is definitely a stretch. Wrapping it up there. Before I finish, though, I just want to update you guys on my posting schedule. I have, up until now, been posting new videos every Sunday, but I no longer want to conform to posting videos on a specific day of the week. A lot of the things or the videos that I post are reporting on Viking news in the media, and if there's a cool story that drops on Monday, I just don't want to wait all the way to Sunday before I post the video. So you can still expect about one video a week, maybe a bit more, but be sure to subscribe to the channel and press that bell icon so you get all the notifications. Okay, thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you on the next one.